Welcome back to Unpack Reboot. Greg here with this guy, Michael, and
We have more toys.
yeah, we do. This one's a cool one, or is it not? We're about to dive in. I think it's cool.
The ModRetro Chromatic. Bundled with Tetris, which I think all the launch ones are. And this is the GameStop gray color. They had other colors on the website, but those all sold out pretty quick. Must say they have some pretty awesome packaging.
Yes.
It's really well done.
So what is the Chromatic?
The Chromatic is a Game Boy Color, basically. You got your metal alloy shell. It plays original cartridges with a couple of quality of life upgrades, like the screen backlit in a way.
The way I see it, and haven't messed with it much, is if you remember the impact the Game Boy made when it came on the scene, it was major. Fast forward many hundreds of years, and if somebody were to redo the Game Boy to modern standards and play the same games and stuff, that's what this is supposed to be. It does play Game Boy and Game Boy Color. It will not play Game Boy Advance, although it is cool that it puts the other two in the same, category.
It only plays physical cards.
Yep. It's not an analog.
There's
It is
no external storage of any kind, nothing.
No.
It does have video out, USB-C video out. A semi-interesting choice is it uses batteries.
yes,
So
it does.
the one other cool thing is they're releasing a bunch of physical cards. So they actually have a licensed version of Tetris that comes with it, and they have a few other like indie games that they've put out.
Some look
Cards.
pretty good. I have not tried them. Look pretty interesting though.
But you got your link cable, your standard link cable. You have the volume rocker. You got an extra button. This pulls up the actual menu for the Chromatic. Otherwise, you have your Game Boy Color layout. I mean, the buttons feel the same from what I remember, like size-wise. The start select aren't squishy like I remember, but that's probably a good thing. But I feel like these feel pretty dead on. You have a big block power switch. I mean, it's hefty. Everything about this thing is hefty.
Yeah. No cut corners. High quality. I mean, he wanted to do it right, and the thing about that is, if you have the money, you can do it right.
And this is $199. Oh, he also gives you
Some batteries.
They're not rechargeable, so don't try that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
There are basic batteries. But yeah, I mean, it's the same form factor, everything. I mean, you got...
It is it's solid. Now, I mean, unfortunately, we don't have a Game Boy here to compare, but man, it is a heavy machine.
Supposedly the shell's crush proof,
You know,
which I haven't run it over in a car like in their promo photos or anything. Outside of it being wonderfully crush proof, they got some pretty sweet colorways, I think. Like the green, the orange, and the battery life. I'm not 100% sure the battery life, but I think it's about on par with kind of what you would expect. And it does have a brightness setting, but the overall goal was to get the color accuracy of this screen correct with what an actual Game Boy Color's.
yeah, back to the square display, so it's not stretching, it's not distorting it in any way. And let me see, where's the let's see, frame blending. You can oops, if I hit the right button, you can adjust that, like you said, color correction, brightness, silent mode. There is firmware.
Yeah, so it does link up to the computer for streaming. I'm assuming the firmware update, but they have Midnight Bubblegum Wave Leaf Volt Inferno. and then the gray, so you can see all the colors across the top.
Yeah.
They're cool. It's
This
a
is
neat device.
The retail edition, which went to GameStop. They included the headphone jack. Let's listen to it.
I mean,
That's all the way up. I'm sure you can hear that. Some classic Tetris.
and supposedly the screen can be seen in sunlight just fine with no glare. To me, all the other things that they said about it are pretty much true, dead on. You know, there's not anything that I can call out about it that has been said or anything was surprising to me.
Cartridge seems to go in really nicely. Kind of clicks in place.
So now we get to the fun stuff. $200.
$200.
To me, it is a much more of a collector's device. I don't think if you don't have an existing Game Boy collection, it's a very tough sell.
Yeah.
Because some of those Game Boy games are still pretty expensive.
Some aren't.
Some aren't. No, you can get some
And I've
dirt
got
cheap.
those.
It's just, to me, it's like, how perfect do you want to play your game? Because you can play Game Boy games pretty well on like a $20 handheld. That to say, it's not built like this tank supposedly is. I mean, from the description, I should be able to spike it off the ground, take a hammer to it, and it should be
That
fine.
would pain me. You know, like you know, when your kid falls in the driveway and you get that little shudder, like, oh, yeah, that would happen if I saw somebody spike and or drop it or punt it. Just the way it's built, you're handling it kind of careful, even though it's durable, probably more durable than most systems you have. I don't know.
It says crush proof and hard wearing, designed to last forever.
Yeah. For $200, I really don't want to put it to the test. You know, like he said though, it's a very niche device. I think you kind of follow in the same argument as that Evercade gets a lot is, you know, with other things out there like the analog. What's your price? You know, is it? Do you want to just play the physical games and not emulate? Then it's right on par. There you go.
That's true. So, just for size comparison too, and a few comparisons, because an analog is $200 as well.
Yeah.
So here's your size on your scale. The analog is quite a bit bigger. Also, this is the plastic shell version. The metal or aluminum shell version of an analog is $500. To give you an idea of a price. Ooh. I think even buying like a lot of the metal shells and stuff to mod Game Boys and stuff is like $100 to $200 for the metal shells.
Yeah, Wendy's lunch is like 12 now.
Yeah. So like, I feel like if this wasn't made of ultra durable car run over it metal, it'd probably be like $100. But yeah. I mean, that's a selling point that, I mean, the old school Game Boys, I feel like, as far as I never knew anyone that actually broke their Game Boy. There's some pretty rough, beat-up ones, like the old Nokia phones that you could throw and kick around.
Yeah, and you know that's nice, and it's you like the way it's built, but I mean, are we making that too much of a selling point? It's like, sure, I admire it, but at the end of the day, I'd probably be just as happy playing a plastic one. My deal is, and it probably goes back to, like he said, the collectors, people who have a bunch of games. You know, those old Game Boys, they decolor. Even the screen doesn't look as hot as it used to. It eats batteries and stuff. And if you have old games sitting around, or a collection, or want to get into, you know, retro game collecting, you're not going to get better than that. I would rather play it on this than the original Game Boy at this point.
Well, yeah, 100%.
You know,
it's a much better screen.
I mean, I would just put the other thing in a empty little plastic football Hall of Fame kind of case and set it off on a shelf and pop them in this thing. Now, they did say they're coming out with a battery pack, or that's the rumor.
Well, I mean, it's just rechargeable batteries. I mean,
it's not a pack that goes in the back.
I mean, I put rechargeable batteries in here. I mean, it's not going to be anything. It's just going to be a AA battery pack. I mean, it's not going to be anything fancy.
No. Well, it needs to be that's fancy, so it should be fancy.
I mean, you can only do so much with these different things.
But anyway, like, That's one drawback to me. The whole batteries thing. I hate putting your own batteries in. I'll be honest. That's if I have to pick one thing that really got me on this, it's the batteries. The dang, like I feel like man, you almost had it. You know, you should have just put some kind of lithium battery pack, good size in there, and that would have.
I personally, I kind of wish. I know it wouldn't be true to scale of the actual Game Boy, but I kind of wish they made the screen a little larger and didn't leave the big, huge, as much of a bezel.
Yeah.
Like I know it's matches the Game Boy. I was actually kind of surprised when I held it up next to my analog pocket, like the screen size difference.
Yeah.
And one interesting thing, because I was curious, because everybody they're talking about color accuracy true to Game Boy. Whenever I put the games in to my analog pocket, there was definitely a little more of a yellow tint to the screen, to the whites, than there were on here. So it's kind of interesting. So like, you know, there are those people that 100% color accuracy and things like that. I don't think you're going to get any better than this. There's no filters, kind of like the analog pocket. You got the little filters that smooth it and things like that, you know, up-res the graphics, because this is a higher res screen.
Pixel perfect.
But this is pixel perfect, and I'm assuming the color accuracy is there. I didn't have a Game Boy Color to test, but you could definitely tell a color difference from this to this. And I tested the ROM and the cartridge in this, and then the cartridge in this. The ROM and the cartridge look exactly the same color-wise on this, and then this did look a little different.
Does this play on the analog?
So that's one other cool thing. Those play in the analog just fine.
The chromatic cartridges.
The interesting thing is normally on the analog, when you hit play cartridge, it gives you like the developer and stuff. That screen, it doesn't show up with that. It just launches. However, our sweet mullet cart, our cheap $10 Game Boy Color cartridge multi-cart that had like 100 games on it, does not launch on this. So I don't know, because people have like Ever drives, all those different like flash drives and things. I don't know if those would have issues running on this. Considering the one I tested is the bottom of the barrel, the cheapest thing you can find in existence. But in my head, I was like, hey, this thing's cool, but if I ever wanted to take more than one game, I could just drop that in there and play them.
Yeah. But it's probably hit or miss on that kind of stuff. I'm sure.
So that's one thing. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's a lot of people who have probably tested more of them, but I think it might be interesting to see some of that type of stuff too, to see if certain flash carts work, or different reproductions even. That's why I say I hate to show them both, but they're both the same price.
Yeah.
So
what are you saying you'd pick?
Chromatic, the Chromatic as it is for $200. I don't know, I think I have like 7 Game Boy games in my collection right now at this point. It's really cool.
You went all out, didn't you?
Yeah. The only reason I have Game Boy
You guys
games
want
is because I got
film a short and look at my Game Boy collection.
The only reason I have any Game Boy games at all is because of this thing. So if I did not have this, I would probably want this.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's pretty cool. I feel like I could throw it and put a whole...
Stop it with the...
Why
do you want to do damage to it?
They have a picture on their own website of a car driving over it.
So if we try it and it doesn't live up to the name, are you going to be okay?
I mean, there's no chance of, because the dude's fun past. I guarantee you're not getting anywhere on trying to claim that you broke it by doing the same thing they did. I mean, I really do just want to
just drop it off a building. Like, let's see what the tolerance is.
As it is, as a device, if you have the game collection or you want to really get into it,
you can't beat it.
Yeah, you can't beat it. I would 100% unpack this thing. Unless you're just an avid collector, if you have one of these, I don't know if there's enough reason to get one of these.
Right.
But then again, a lot of people that have these bought like 8 of them of all different colors too, so they probably buy this anyway. So that's kind of my opinion. I say unpack it. It's pretty cool. None of the marketing hype is wrong that I've seen.
Yeah.
Except
yeah, and even I know he showed the detail, but I mean, you can tell like if I knew how to open the box.
It's a magnetic box. They got magnets
Just
in
let
there.
me struggle, get on the struggle bus. But look, I mean, again, we'll have to put some better pictures. We'll take the batteries out. But you know, they graffitied up. This is a nice box, and I know we're not advertising the box here, but every aspect of this thing, top to bottom, was well thought out, well planned. You know, even to the library of games, which, you know, we'll show pictures of. But you know, like, put a little window in there so you could see the stripes. So fantastic marketing, quality ingredients to make that pizza. And
then the fact they pulled what original Game Boy did and they licensed Tetris to pack with it. I mean,
like, why not go with the Premier Classic? And so I will also unpack it, and because like I said, you can't beat it. If you've worn out your old Game Boy, bam, there you go, take it. You know, if you're not as big as him, like, you know, the reason people will pick that is because of the variety of things you can play on it. But if you're just like, no, you know what, I'm a Game Boy guy, I got cartridges. One thing I do wonder, and it's just a wonderment, if they had made it GBA compatible, Game Boy Advance, and just pop some triggers on the back. Intriguing thought, and I kind of wish they did.
well, they're probably going to make a Game Boy Advance one. They'll have a full line of indestructible handhelds.
They might start making armor
You might already
with
have.
buttons on it. So yeah, completely unpack. Like I said, just do your research and see what your real motivation is, because it's definitely not for everyone. But if you do get it and have Game Boy games or Game Boy Color, you're gonna like it. The bells and whistles aren't there, but it's even adjusting the brightness inside on the screen itself was kind of cool. Price point, a little rough. I get it.
At this day and age, what a Game Boy Color's what, $75 probably. I think $75 non-modded. You mod it with a screen for this. That's another probably $75. If you're gonna go down that path, I'd probably just say forget it and grab this thing.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right. See you.